All right, well, good morning. Y'all come on in. There's some seats over here. So I'm honored to be back. I am a graduate of Integrated Global Communications. So I got my master's here in 2023. And it was a really fun thing to do with some esteemed professors in the room. Thank you for coming. But today what I'm going to talk to you about is the financial wellness that I learned throughout my life and how it helped me turn lemons into lemonade. My secret formula is going to start back at the beginning, okay? So these are my grandparents, and my grandparents grew up during the Great Depression. So as children of the Depression, they counted every penny and they made them count. And so when I was young, my grandfather took me to a little bank in North Carolina, and he helped me open my first savings account. So I would go to the bank with him, and he would basically say, Lisa, here's a few dollars. Now go up, give it to the teller. Gave it to the teller, shake their hand, right? So I was learning the lessons. Okay, they gave me a lollipop. So I left and I thought, this is easy, I can do this. Then I became a teenager. I had lots of lemons to lemonade moments like many of you, right? Things happen, it's not what you expected. You're like, this really stinks. I was gonna say a different word, but my mom's here. And so I started at the University of Georgia as an undergraduate, and I knew what I wanted to do, like maybe some of y'all. I wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to do all the things. I wanted to be a political reporter. So my major was broadcast news. My undergrad was political science. And then it came time to apply for that major, and I didn't make it. Now we're going to have lemons to lemonade moment number one, okay? So that was a devastating blow. I was points off of being accepted into my major program. I went to my advisor because I could not understand, like, how is it that the thing I want to do the most and I'm here to do, I can't do? And she said, Lisa, you're so cute. Don't you know there's more than one way to get at everything? And I was like, say more. So novel concept, lemons to lemonade moment number one, changed my entire career trajectory. So I entered a program that I was accepted for called Social Entrepreneurship for Consumer Well-Being. That's a really long way of saying my major was broadcast news, and my undergrad was in something called consumer science. And I'm like, what does that mean? They said, you're going to study the history of housing in the United States. What does that mean? You're going to study the chemistry of cooking, huh? You're going to study things like financial planning. I said, I'm a journalism major. I don't do math. I started down that path, and I got an internship with a TV station here in Atlanta called Channel 5. And I was really excited because they accepted one student each summer from the University of Georgia. So I was really excited. And I got to do amazing political science stuff, even though, remember, I wasn't accepted into that program. So I'm out there doing my thing, and I go back to school, and then I come back because there was a presidential election. I got to interview all kinds of cool people. And then lemonade moment number two, get ready, I hated it. Okay, not like anybody's ever had an internship and been like, well, that just told me what I didn't want to do, right? So I graduate and I think, oh my gosh, I have to figure out how to make a living and I don't want to do this. So I worked at the TV station at nights and on the weekends, okay? Then I found another job. So on graduation, I went to work for, can't see it down there, a little teeny building that was a construction firm that built things like the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, okay? So I went in and I was doing some things that I felt like were using my talents, but a lot of things that really weren't letting me stretch my wings. So I then left and I went to work at a small community bank in Metro Atlanta. Awesome. Using comm skills, feeling like a rock star, loving it all until lemonade moment number three. In a few short years, that bank was purchased because banking does what? Consolidate all the way. So that bank was purchased by what is now Bank of America. And I was the youngest person. So at 24, what happened? I was gone. I was gone, so we had some more lemonade. I was devastated. I squeezed lemons hard, y'all. I literally thought, okay, I have to make something good out of this, right? I have lots of things I can do. Let me figure out something that I enjoy doing. So I networked. I went to coffee like many of y'all do. I went to lunch. I would go pretty much anywhere to talk to anybody about a job. So finally, I get a job. And ironically, y'all, I was back 2 blocks from where I had left. So funny enough, this big, you can't really see it in this picture, I don't think. I worked for Georgia Pacific. So right downtown, back in there. I think I parked in the same parking lot. So on to my next job. Anybody here ever lost a job? Anybody? Okay, thank you for sharing. It's really scary, isn't it? It's like a moment where you think, oh my gosh. So remember my grandfather, Dean, right? I felt like he had seen some hard times. So I went back to Dean. So I said, Grandpa, you have got to give me some advice. What should I be doing? Because I need to feel more stable if this happens again. And he said, I don't have any advice for you. Because y'all, he wasn't giving out advice. He was saying, watch me, right? If you've ever learned from somebody, he was saying, just watch me. While my grandfather didn't give advice, he gave examples. So I took my lunch to work, right? I made my coffee at home, right? And then sometimes for a big date night, my husband and I have dinner on the deck. Yep, so movie night at home, things like that. So there are ways to have a good time that I was able to kind of save money so that in future I didn't worry when those lemons came back. But I really needed to make this real. I was in my 20s, I needed a goal. So I said, I'm gonna plan a trip. I like to travel, let me come up with a fun trip. So I opened up Microsoft Excel, but you may use like an app on your phone, or you could even use notes in your phone, whatever helps you. Let me ask all of you to challenge yourself for 1 month, write down every expense and every piece of income you get. And that will help you start to see on paper where your money goes. You can compare back and forth on if you spend a lot, you can see where you need to save the next month, right? So that's what that visible example does for you. So I did that, and I saved for a trip. That was super fun. I liked how that felt, right? So life happens. I've given you some examples of some lemons to lemonade moments, and then understand that could be a job layoff, which is big, a medical expense that comes up you didn't expect. I wanted to have that stronghold for the next lemon moment, right? When the storm came. So there's 4 pillars we're going to talk about a little bit. I'm going to build your house safely and securely. Number 1 is security. That's going to be your paycheck, right? That's going to be income. That's going to be savings that you've set aside for later. So that's money that's coming in for your security. Number 2, debt management. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about credit cards and loans. You want them to work for you. Spoiler alert, if you don't master them, they will master you, okay? Number 3, your future. Okay, like I said, things come, so you need to start investing for those things. It doesn't have to be big. It could be $20 a month. It could be $5 a week. It could be something, but you can start future planning. And then your values. You want to spend on what's really critical to you, not what TikTok says. So learning about financial wellness helps you be stronger, right? And it's okay to stumble or learn some lessons along the way. I want you to know it's okay to fail, because what happens? You learn, right? So my story was about opening my first savings account at a little bank in North Carolina. Want to talk about a full circle moment? I now work for that bank and what they became. That bank was called BB&T. That bank merged with the company I worked for called SunTrust. It became Truist. That's where I work today. But basically, the end all be all is I started investing, right? So when I started working, I had a 401k. You could put any amount in and the company would match it. So wait a minute, I earn $1, I put $1 in, the company puts $1, I have $2, but it's going to earn interest. This is great. Wait a minute. So I said, how much can you put in? Well, I could put in 10%. 10%? I don't know that I could give up 10%. Then they changed it to 15%, y'all. So I was like, what if I tried it? What if I tried to put 15% in and I tried to live like I was paying my future self, right? I was putting money aside for my future self. $50 a month if you started now, when you're 65, you have over $100,000. Just through compounding, we don't have to do math. I'm a journalism major. You can get this financial knowledge for free, right? You can find it a lot of places. So for instance, this is just a screenshot. This is some of the stuff, for instance, that's just on the Truist.com site that you can learn for free now, right? But y'all can obviously go online and you can learn from any source that's a good qualified source. Your financial stability gives you things like what? Study abroad. Backpacking across Europe with friends, right? You don't have to know today, but you just have to set some aside. And so that helps you figure out, like, I can give time or resources to charities that matter to me or causes. I can budget for things like maybe reducing student debt, right? So when I came here to get my master's, I was really lucky. My company actually helped pay for some of it. See, so when you think about more education, think about companies that match for tuition, right? So again, I was thinking, how am I going to do all the things I want to do and still not rake up a bunch of debt, right? So when life gives you lemons, like a tuition increase or the flat tire, you need to think about, like, how am I going to flip the narrative on this? How am I going to turn this in my favor? So you'll know what's important to you. If you hadn't thought about it, go for a walk with you, yourself, and think about what's really important. Once you think about those things, you'll start to come up with habits around that, okay? And what I mean is, like, if we talk about travel, it's one of the things that's kind of special to me because I like the way I feel when I go there. Then what do? I need to save so I can plan the trip, right? So think about the habits. And that helps you build the value-based life, right? So what we're going to do is put this practice into work. This is when I got my master's, and this is my mom and I. So when I went to undergrad at the University of Georgia, my mom was a CPA. My mom went to law school at Georgia State at night. So can y'all imagine? Those are some heavy loads. So then when my daughter went to college, what did I say? If she did it, I can do it too, right? So when I looked into master's programs, because education was a big deal for me, I said, I want a master in communications, and I'm going to compare programs. I need to keep things like nearby, right? I need to be able to actually work because I work during the day, and I need to get to these programs. I looked all these programs up. I looked at all their curriculum. Georgia State and Kennesaw State are both about the same distance from my house. I wanted to go to Athens. I wanted to be a double dog, y'all. I'm not going to lie, but I couldn't do it because driving to Athens every night was going to be a pain. So, and they didn't offer it online, right? That was a little too far. But I can tell you this, my company was going to help with the tuition. And what's one thing I love to do is travel. I put it on the bottom just so I didn't completely change the room. But here's the thing, only Kennesaw State had the global impact. That is why I chose Kennesaw State, because it had the same curriculum with a plus. It said, you're going to be required to go study overseas because guess what? The world is not this big. The world is this big, y'all. So I said, that's the program I want. And so when they shipped me off, and I went over to the UK and I worked for 3 weeks and I did all the fun things and I learned all the lessons, my mom's like, I'm in, right? So literally I can tell y'all, you will have your own priorities, right? I needed to keep everything else, all the plates spinning while I did that. So to make your priorities align with your values, you need to know your why. You may have like a mood board, or you may have something that represents, whether it's the screen on your phone, your why. Every time I took my lunch to work, totally cool, because I knew that this was on the back end. Eating out less, not a problem. But let's talk a little bit about credit. You can be like the master of your credit, or it can master you, right? And so people often will say to me, should I have a credit card? When should I use a credit card? And my banking friends would tell you, we do not recommend you use debit cards on things like travel because you are not protected. That is a direct line into your checking. That money is coming out, right? If something happens and you want to dispute it, there are different laws around debit cards than there are about credit cards. So for things like travel, I'm always using a credit card. I'm just tapping. That's so much nicer than when we used to have to like chip or, I had to scan something the other day and I was like, what world are we in? So all that to say, it's okay to have a credit card to build credit, and you don't need credit unless you have to get a loan, right? That's when you need a good credit score. You don't need a good credit score just to get up in the morning, y'all. But if you have a credit card that you pay off in full every month, you can actually set it just to say pay off in full. That's what I've got. So I just walk away. I'm like, we're only going to put things on the card that we can pay off in full, right? And so then I'm what? Mastering the credit. If it masters you, do not beat yourself up. Come to someone who is a professional that you trust, whether it's a banker or it's your grandfather, right? And ask them, like, how do I consolidate this? I do not want to pay 25% on these, this credit card. Please, please, please get help because there's easy ways out of it. All right. Here's where we're going to wrap it up. The good news, you saw this before. Once you can kind of, tame the beast here, y'all can have freedom, peace of mind, purpose. There are gonna be lemons. Just, think it through. You've got them, I've got them, we all are gonna have them. It's how you handle it, right? Some knowledge, some discipline. You need to phone a friend. It is okay. And a good sense of humor, I think, will take you a long way. This week, I want each of you to make, whether it's a little decision or a big decision, that squeezes a little lemon out, right, and makes you a glass of lemonade. It could be saying no to an impulse purchase. Starting an emergency fund. Start an emergency savings. It can be small. Or just start tracking your spending. Do it on Excel, do an app, do whatever you like or feel comfortable with. Could be a piece of paper, okay? When life gives you lemons, you can make lemonade, and everything has a financial component to it. Do not be afraid, because I don't want you just to survive college. I want you to set yourself up for a purpose-filled life. Thank y'all so much.
So we'll just continue on what you were talking about. You encourage students to have an emergency savings fund. Let's just say this week they started the fund.
Yes.
And they were going good for 2 months.
Yes.
And then they slipped up. And they slipped up again, and they slipped up again. They've lost momentum. What now should they do?
Right. So it's okay to start wherever you are. You may have had big expenses that came up, so you couldn't put money into those emergency savings accounts those 2 months that you mentioned, CJ. And so what I would say is do your best, right? It could be that you don't expect to put anything in that account, but at the end of the month you put $5 because you had $5 extra, right? So again, give yourself grace, because I'm not going to tell you that I'm always doing a great job, right? I'm not. But there are some months where I can catch up, and some months where I can't.
You motivated them to find out information. You said, you can come to Truist, but I'm 18, I don't know anything about money, my parents don't know anything about money, my friends don't know anything about money. But what you've said has made an impact today. How do they muster up the strength and the courage to go into a financial institution and say, hey, I care about my financial future?
No, that's a great question. You can go in and say, I've never opened an account. I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to start. I just want to start. They love that. Not because they're looking at you and seeing like dollars and cents floating in the air. That's not at all. Because we've all been there. Every single one of us. And so they absolutely love when someone comes in and says, I want to open an account, Erica. I don't know what I need. And Erica's going to say, tell me a little bit about you. I'm a student at Kennesaw State. This woman came and she talked about lemons. And all I know is I got to have some kind of, and she's going to say, a savings account earns interest. So let's talk about a savings account that pays you, right? Like money gets put back in. And so again, they're going to help you through that. But you may come to someone like my husband as a financial advisor, and he might get somebody who says, I'm new to investing, right? Not just new to set up an emergency account or whatnot. I don't know what to do. Those are his favorite, like when children of his clients want to meet with just him, he loves it because he says, we all started somewhere, right? We all start somewhere. So I don't want you to think whoever this financial person is, they're, smart or they're better or they're not. They have been you. They have been where you are. They all have to start at the beginning. And so they love when they see themselves come back around, right? They love to be able to help you.
All things being equal, ceteris paribus, they graduate from KSU. Hooty hoo! They have this degree, they're going to take on the world, they got their dream job. However, they don't have the dream salary. You're talking about financial wellness. They're out of school, they have debt, they have the great job. How do they live without eating top ramen and ketchup packet soup?
They should do that too. So here's the deal. I told y'all, I got a job, and then at one point, I wasn't making $1 gazillion, and I got laid off, right? So this has happened. So CJ actually did set me up for this. So there is this thing called a side hustle. Anybody here ever had a side hustle? Yeah, y'all, I had a side hustle until I was in my 40s. So what I can tell you is this. When I got out of college, if you wanted me to walk your dog, I would walk your dog. If you wanted me to pet sit for you, stay the night at your house so that your kitty cat did not have to be there by herself, I would do it. If you needed me to house sit and make sure your garden got watered in the summer, not a problem. I literally did babysitting, house sitting, pet sitting, all the things. And then when my kids were little, what do I love to do? Think about back to the values, right? The things that you love. I love to bake. So I started baking. It was a side hustle. I worked at SunTrust. Somebody'd go, hey, could you make a wedding cake? I'm going to watch some videos and I'm going to make you a wedding cake. Again, so all the things that you want to do, you can do within reason, but you may have to have a side hustle. And you just need to think about what you're good at and what you have time for, right?
How do they find a community within their new workplace? What do they look for? What are some red flags? They don't have the safety net of academia or KSU, family and friends. Right. How do they navigate that space now?
So you find, first of all, you'll start to, feel your people, right? You'll start to see, this person works in another department, but I think we have some things in common. And so you'll find your people, right? And when there are events, I often say, in our family, my husband will say, run to the fear, right? Has anybody ever heard that kind of theory? That if there's something you're afraid of, just do it. Just prove that you can. Prove that you can do hard things and you can get up the next day and be fine. So I run to the fear, first of all. Now, while I enjoy being with y'all, I don't typically like to go to events with 300 people. And so what I would say to you is I have to force myself. Like when there are work things that may be optional, I go, right? I go to it. It's outside my comfort zone, but I go. Because I'm going to meet people who are like me or that we can connect with, right?
So let's say one of the students in here, they're like, okay, well, I don't have lemons. I have a lime.
Lemonade is good.
I can't make lemonade, so what do? You don't understand my background.
Yeah.
My situation is different from you. I didn't have a grandfather who was the example. Mm-hmm. How can they navigate that? They have different circumstances.
Mm-hmm. So my sister is my half-sister, and so we didn't grow up in the same household. We have one parent in common, but not two, whatever. My sister did not grow up with the queen over here. So she didn't learn any of those things. So she calls me, and she's like, I don't know who to call. She's younger, right? So I only have the benefit of walking more earth. I'm not smarter. I'm not better. I've just got more earth. So I said, what's the issue? She tells me, and I go, it is on you to break the cycle. It is on you. What you're describing is that you didn't see healthy financial examples. It is on you to break the example for your children. And let me tell you how you're going to do that. Do you have a will? She said, if I die, my kids come to you. No, that is not a will. So we literally start from scratch, right? We literally have the conversation. So what the point is while I may not be y'all's sister, or your mother or your aunt or whatever. Find somebody. Again, y'all can find me on LinkedIn, but send me a note if you have a question, but otherwise find someone in your life that you trust that can help guide you. It doesn't have to be a relative that gave you an example of what to do, because we don't all start with that. You need to have some way to have a sounding board. You need to have somebody that you consider healthy and you follow them. And that's what I did. I mean, I looked for examples, I read books, then I saw people doing things that I was like, it looks really good. How did you do that? And they were like, oh, well. And I'm like, seriously, no, I need the details. I don't gloss over it. So yeah, does that kind of help?
We have a question.
Think and grow rich is what he said. And who moved my cheese? Ron Clark is amazing. If y'all don't know Ron Clark, I'm coming for you. Owl Train, Merlin Wealth Management. Yeah, so that sounds like a KSU resource, right? Yeah. So the great thing is, once you have that thirst for knowledge, and I'm kind of a lifelong learner, as y'all picked up, and it doesn't mean I have to be sitting in a classroom to do it. I'm learning every day somewhere, right? And so I'm looking always for, is there somebody like Susie, is it Susie Orman? Is that her name?
Yeah.
I can't. Susie Orman's a good one, I think, that I like. There's just different people out there, but you can also, if you already have bank accounts, the bank will have some things. And I know, Vern, for instance, teaches classes in the community, sometimes at churches, or he does, for people who want to start a small business, things like that. I mean, there's lots of resources that are out there. If you just Google, to your point, if you want to do some research, I don't push away from what they call finfluencers, which are financial influencers, but I would just say make sure you're following someone who's got a solid background. It's not just a talking head. Yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
So I think listening and curiosity has been the biggest thing for me. If you already are with a bank, they should have those things on their site. We have a program on our site that has been gamified and all those kind of good things, that if you wanted to come in and start learning, you pick a topic, right? And you just, it's saving for travel, saving for school, whatever it is, right? And so it's very fundamental, because initially you're like, what's the secret sauce? Give it to me. And the secret is, there is no secret. You start small, you start saving. People have different personalities. If you know that about yourself, you kind of just push it over to the savings and forget about it, right? Because that's you tricking yourself to save for your future self. You're welcome, right? So that's kind of it. Does that answer your question about some of the fundamentals on money and where to start? Is savings. If you heard nothing else, savings. Well, first of all, congratulations, you earned the right to be there, okay? Yay. You deserve to be there. So awesome, and keep doing it and be you. Second, I was really fortunate because I had a dad that said to me, you deserve to be there. So a lot of times I walked in and I was the only lady in the room. I did not care, because why? I earned the right to be there. So just remember, show up as your best self, and represent yourself, and be kind of present, and stay seated at the table, right? Be relevant in the conversation. Recently, my husband and I went somewhere. I was the only female in the room, probably of men between 30 and 70. And one man came up and said, thank you so much for coming. You're so brave. And I said, I work in financial services. I'm usually the only woman in the room. So it's totally okay. And it doesn't mean you can't do anything. You can. So just be relevant, be present, be your best self, because you represent yourself and the rest of us, and we appreciate it.
Round of applause for us.